Hey guys, I'm out here at Eidson Woods going for a hike today, and I wanted to point out some really cool bird sound. If you listen directly over this way, you probably can't see it. It's a teeny tiny little bird, but this little one that's chattering over here is called a golden-crowned keenelet, one of my personal favorites. He's only about this big, and he likes to flail his wings around quite a bit, and that is kind of looks like he had too much coffee. So this is something kind of cool we stumbled upon while we were on our trail here at Eidson Woods. This is an example of wild onion. Now this ball you see here at the top is the casing that was around the bulb of the onion down here. Now, contrary to belief, most of what shows up in our yard is actually wild garlic. A field garlic is another name for it. They have more of a round, they grow in big clumps like that, but the wild onion has a flatter leaf on it, and both of them do have a tiny little bulb like this at the base. The field garlic, the round one that you'll normally find in your yard in big clumps, and you'll notice when people are mowing it smells like onions all of a sudden, that one actually will have a kind of a bulb at the top, a flower head, similar to what you'll find in culinary garlic. So this is a perfect example of one of the many vernal pools we have within the district. A vernal pool is a springtime pool. This is only here during the spring generally, unless we have a really wet year. But in general, this is here from spring rainfall and ice melt, which we didn't have a lot of ice this year, but we had a bit. But as you can hear, it is absolutely vital for amphibian life. In this case, we've got several species of frogs out here, and this is where they come and they lay their eggs. The tadpoles will soon spawn here, and they'll do their froggy little beginning life in their froggy nursery childhood, and then they will emerge from there and they will leave this. And vernal pools are important for that because vernal, spring pools last only a short amount of time, which means we don't have a ton of fish life in these, generally speaking, and therefore the tadpoles and eggs have a much better chance of surviving. Sounds great. So here we have an example of one of the very first native spring blooms. This is Harbinger of Spring, also known as salt and pepper. From a distance it looks kind of black and white. Closer up like this you can see it's actually got kind of a red color to it. But a fun find, but very, very small. So if we zoom out here and begin to pan away, you can see really not a whole lot to that flower, but very important for our early pollinators, our small mason bees and other critters and flies and such, but always exciting to see your first native wildflower.
Daddy, something's growing here.
Yeah, look at that.
Cookie.
So at Eidson Woods, this is one of the few parks we have that is more of a maple beech style of forest instead of an oak and a hickory. We have a lot of maples and beech trees here. So this above me here is one of our small beech trees here. You'll notice it still has its leaves from last year. They tend to do that. They hold on to their leaves, and kind of like an oak tree will, and they will keep them through the winter at times. This is, like I said, an American beech. Very unique leaf to it. Looks a lot like other ones, but it has some teeth on it, no real lobing. But these terminal buds right here are very long, very skinny, and pointy. So these terminal buds on the beech help identify it if it does happen to lose its leaves. Now these leaves will soon fall off, and with the new leaves pushing out for this year's growth. The other feature you'll notice about the beech tree is that it's got very smooth bark. And this smooth bark is very characteristic as well. Nice, smooth, overall gray color on this bark. So another cool feature we have here is that we've got this unique plant. Now I know you're looking at it going, it's just a green leaf. But believe it or not, this is the only species of orchid that we have in our Darke County parks. This is called the putty root orchid. It doesn't look like much right now. We're in the middle of winter, or at the end of winter, early spring. But this orchid sends up this leaf, and it's up all winter long. And then when we hit about the middle of May, this leaf will shrivel up and look as brown as the rest of these, and it'll send up a single spike. Now, bear in mind, these are not orchids that are super showy like the ones you find at the store, the florist, or if you were to look up orchid online. Very small, minuscule flowers, but they're kind of a yellow-purple color. But these orchids are extremely sensitive, and they only grow in certain important areas. And oddly enough, most of the orchids we have here are growing right alongside the trail, so they're easy to find, but unfortunately they're very susceptible to potentially being trampled upon if people were to widen their stance on the trail, which is why we always stay to the trail, right girls?
Yeah.
So here we have an early mushroom who was excited about things when it was a little bit warmer. We had a little bit of a cold snap, so it's kind of slowed its process down some, but this is the scarlet cup. Kind of cool. This process right, the inner red portion I believe is where the spores, the seeds of this particular fungus, would be gathered and then released. We have a little bit of wildflower growth starting. Here's this one again we saw earlier. And then over here, now this one is just about to open. Give it a couple days of sunshine and we'll probably have it up and going. This is very early. It's in the mustard family. This is purple cress. Not crest as in the toothpaste, but cress. C-R-E-S-S. They can be purple in color or potentially kind of a white bloom as well. Most of what you can see, the brown reeds here, are actually goldenrod that was left over from last year's growth. And while we could chop these down, we try to leave them because a lot of times they have a lot of insect life in them. So this is an example of a goldenrod gall. This is kind of the oblong shape. There's two species, kind of this oval shape here. And then we also have here a praying mantis egg sac. So there will be hundreds of baby praying mantis hatching out of that here in a few short weeks. Or possibly you may have seen those on your Christmas trees before. And then over here, we have the more round goldenrod gall. Now this one's kind of appears to be at the top. The rest of it must have broken off. These are small little insects. There's a single little insect grub in there. But the other benefit of those is that downy woodpeckers love to eat from these. And many of them around here do have holes in them from the downy woodpecker who has drilled its way in and got himself a snack. Let's see if we can find one quick. Yeah, so right here, here's an example of a downy woodpecker who was able to bore its way into this gall and remove the grub and get himself a nice winter snack this past few months. All right, everybody, thanks for coming out to Eidson Woods for a virtual hike with us. A lot of cool things, early spring. Hopefully we'll be seeing some new stuff here pretty soon. Definitely we'll be checking this park and others out throughout the next few weeks. Lots of spring blooms and birds on the way. So thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you next time.